Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to give people 3 more minutes before we start. Only one in the room, student edition. So if you want to take a couple minutes, please do. And we will get started at exactly 3:10 Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions beforehand, please let me know. But yeah, that is it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're gonna give it 1 more minute for people to come in. Thank you for being here. This will be recorded for the people who are not able to attend. Um, but yeah, this is only one in the room, student edition. This was created, it's 3:10 now. This was created to give light to graduate students who are Black, queer women who are experiencing just stuff. Not only are you a student, but you're a Black queer woman. Um, all at schools that are predominantly white, and that in of itself is difficult. Having undergraduate resources and realizing that those don't apply to you as a graduate student is why we're here. I wanted to create this um, Zoom meeting for us to be able to talk about these experiences as we help each other, but also help the next Black queer student who is in graduate school, who's struggling with the same things y'all are struggling with. Um, so let me start over. My name is LaJoya Johnson. I am the creator of Black Educated Lesbians, founded September 10th, 2014. We are here to just make sure that we uplift Black queer women in any way possible. And this event is very special to me because only one in the room is how most of us feel as Black queer women when we get into certain spaces. And graduate school is no different. And so I wanted these three panelists to talk about their experiences, introduce themselves, and let the world know that the support is needed, that they deserve to have all the resources possible, if not more. But I'm gonna stop and let them tell you. So, first, I would like to introduce Lex, who is going to introduce herself and just tell you a bit about her background. And we will get into the nitty gritty a little bit later, but just a brief bio. But yeah, Lex, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As Ms. LaJoya said, I am Alexis Lex Johnson. I am not only a graduate student at the University of Central Arkansas, but I am also a financial aid counselor as well for our financial aid department. Not only did I attend the University of Central Arkansas currently as a grad student, but I attended an undergraduate as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to sharing my experiences with you all. I am a part of a Black Greek letter organization as well, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So as you can imagine, I've walked in a lot of different spaces and had to navigate a lot of different situations as well, being Black, being queer, but also being a multitude, of other things in the higher education community. So I definitely look forward to this engaging conversation with you all.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have Allie.
Hi, y'all. I'm Allie. I'm a fourth year PhD student at Duke University studying sociology. I focus mostly on race, queerness, and mental health. And I did my undergrad at UT Austin studying social work and sociology. So I feel like that switch from a school from the state I'm from and having the resources of like my family to grad school being in a different state was really interesting. But I'm looking forward to talking about it more in the conversation, more deeply.
Thank you so much, Allie, and we'll have Sierra.
Hi everyone, my name is Sierra Peebles. I'm currently or was going into my 5th year at University of Georgia for sociology. Primarily I study criminology and victimology. My dissertation was on missing persons cases and structural disadvantages and how it affects missing people of color. And primarily looking at sociology, we already know systemic issues going on currently, and then also just historically going as a Black queer person to these higher level institutions can be pretty tough. So I'm very excited to talk about my experience today.
Thank you so much, Sierra, and we're going to get into that. So the first question I have is, tell us your story. What does being the only one in the room look like for you in your academic journey? Um, Whoever would like to share, you can tell us what's been going on, what currently is going on. What did you get from undergrad that you see the difference in graduate school? But yeah, whoever would like to go first.
I could start.
Okay.
In undergrad, I feel like I was very fortunate because I had a Black woman as a mentor that I reached out to, and I did a lot of research with her and clung to her as like my guiding light. Because I went to a PWI, so I feel like there was a lot of Black students there, but then it felt like I was choosing between my Blackness or my queerness a lot of the time. I ended up joining a queer org and it was very white, but it gave me a sense of like my queerness. Like I could go somewhere and find people who understood what I was going through, especially like finally being away from my family and just trying to navigate growing up and learning more about my sexuality. So I'm really grateful for that. Although then I feel like I had to sacrifice being around my Black people, and I really, really wanted that. Um, and now being in grad school, I have a mentor and I love him. He's great. He's a Black man, and that's great. So now I'm getting to study race, talk about race with him, do more of that. And what I'm noticing though is that when I want to have conversations with people or talk about even intersectional experiences, much harder to get to. It always feels like either people can understand like what it's like to be Black or what it's like to be queer. But I feel like I struggle to find those people who can understand what it's like to be Black and queer. And to answer what does it feel like to be the only one in the room, I feel like there's many times I'm in class and I want to look at somebody and be like, did y'all hear that? And there's nobody for me to look at and like do that, that thing you do when there's another person and y'all like, that was crazy, right? I don't have that person. So yeah.
Got you. And I definitely understand. Yeah. Who would like to go next? Go ahead, Sierra.
Yeah, I think my experience so far going to PWI is that it's been honestly pretty lonely. For my undergrad experience, I went to a minority serving institution in Florida, so it didn't feel the same way in terms of certain struggles I went through. So I think in grad school, especially if it's a PWI, that worsens a lot. Um, and I wish I could have something that sounds more, I guess, encouraging. But that's why it's important to rely on community and mentorship during that time. I think without it, it's already difficult even with those resources, but without it, it becomes a lot worse. So I definitely recommend seeking that when possible.
And Lex?
So I would have to say, being the only one in the room probably defines my whole educational career, honestly. Not only am I, a graduate of a PWI in undergrad, smack dead in the center of the Bible Belt. I'm in Arkansas. My experiences growing up were a lot similar to the ones that I experienced in undergrad. Like I wanted to go to a HBCU. Like I think when I was younger, Clark Atlanta was like my number one school that I wanted to go to. But unfortunately, just due to the different spaces that I had to navigate, that just wasn't possible. I can honestly say, like, the experience that I had from undergraduate, from alone, like even certain positions like the minority mentorship program is a program that we have here at UCA for undergraduates. Not even being good enough for certain executive positions within spaces, Black spaces and stuff. The only organization on campus that saw me worthy to hold a position higher than, saying secretary. Not that secretary isn't important, but that's a lower level, quote unquote, executive position, was the NAACP. And even then, we couldn't hold steady and, remain constant enough to, continue going. Being the only one in the room is just like, it's left a lot of lingering anxiety as I enter, into my grad program. Like, I'm in my grad program, but going further into my grad program, I find it hard to ask for help. I find it hard to create community because it's just like, even still, as a returning student and worker on campus, employee on campus, the same people are still employed. I still kind of get the same side eyes from people that, Black women, and in particular, there are not a lot of Black males on campus, but even then, it's just like, there's a lot of aloneness that, comes with that and stuff.
This question I didn't tell y'all about, but I do have another question. Do y'all think that if you all went to a HBCU for grad school, things would be different? Why? And why? Because I know Sierra, you said you went to one for undergrad. What do you think? Whoever wants to go can go.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like I kind of give this question, it's kind of a non-answer, or it's yes or no, yes and no. I think certain social aspects become a lot easier, such as not being quote unquote the only one navigating that space as a Black queer person. A lot of times there will be a couple of people that can relate to that experience at an HBCU. I think with a lot of the structural dynamics and just institutional stuff that comes with college and the universities, I don't think that would really go away. And I think that's also kind of heartbreaking to deal with that from your own people a lot of the time. But it's just kind of the structure of universities in general. It's just affected by larger society as a whole. It's kind of hard to change that. So I think it'd be a little different, but I don't think a lot of the major challenges would change.
Gotcha. Lex?
I think I say yes so heavily because, even though in the Black community, accepting and, including queer students is still a struggle. But I just feel like me personally, I would be more motivated to go and learn. In one of the courses that I just completed this past summer, we talked a lot about plantation leadership. And then that's a lot of what I experienced on a PWI campus where I might be good enough for one space, but I won't be good enough to be the director of this department. Maybe another department that's not as, business savvy. I just 100% feel like it would be refreshing to see more people that look like me, not even just a Black woman, but Black queer women, and I noticed myself having to unlearn a lot of what was taught to me throughout the years. And I feel like being able to unlearn that in a Black space would just make my experience as a grad student all the more different. It's still worth it, but worth it to another level.
Gotcha. What do you think, Allie?
Yeah, I definitely think if I was at a HBCU right now, I would feel at the very least a layer of safety that I have not experienced even in undergrad being around Black people. And especially as someone who's femme presenting, I feel like my queerness is never assumed. So being in a Black space for me would at least give me like that false sense of security, even though what I study is queerness. So within 5 minutes of talking to me, you'll know. Like when I'm at school now, it's like there's too many layers. It's always intersectional for me. So although I do think it would be helpful, the two things that get me are all based on my identity and being in the room and being the only Black student in a room of 6 people, which is still not a lot because our classes are like 6 people. I don't know. I think it would be nice to see another person, like Lex said, that looks like me, at least in the room. And oh my goodness, what would it be like to be taught by people who look like me? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you all. My next question is, and y'all have touched on this a bit, but if you can go further into what's going on, especially you, Sierra, what systematic or cultural barriers have you faced in your program? Y'all can get a list if you want to. Whoever want to go first, it's up to y'all. Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot of different things. I think especially going to a PWI, I hate that it all kind of connects back to that. I think the biggest is when you're an advocate, a self advocate, as in you stand up for yourself. I think that is kind of, you can do it and you should do it, but you have to do it in a certain way that's not seen as disrespectful or aggressive or seen as something that we've heard those type of terms before directed at us. So I think are problematic and troublesome, things like that. Um, I think that's the biggest thing I've faced a lot of the time is that I will like ask a lot of questions. Um, Even if it's in a professional tone, it's seen as being disrespectful. And it's been hard to navigate that because it's like, how do I advocate for myself without being seen in that light? I think that's one of the biggest challenges I've encountered so far. And I don't know if that is just purely a cultural thing or if that's just academia in general. It's kind of hard to tell.
Gotcha. Who would like to go next?
I can go because I feel like I've experienced that same things here. Like I go to my friends in my cohort and they'll give me advice on how to approach like advocating for myself. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I could do what you could do. You know, like they will say things to their advisors, and I'm like, I want to ask. I don't know, like just the level of comfort or way that they move through the space. It's kind of isolating when I'm like, I don't know who to ask advice from because the way y'all move is not how I want to move. And then the other like barriers that I feel like I faced is I continue to tell my department, stop accepting one Black student because it's already just setting you up to feel isolated. I would rather they cluster admitted or just don't because it's very isolating and yeah, they don't listen. So
Lex.
I would definitely say there's a plethora of things, but the main one that I would have to see, like when we talk about those, excuse me, like I get
You're
nervous.
fine.
About certain barriers that are, I would have to say number one, outside of work, outside of school, I walk confidently with my head held high. And I'm not saying that I let my head down when I walk in the room somewhere, but I definitely feel myself have to dial back just a little bit. Just a tad. And that's just, it shouldn't have to be like that. And the program that I'm in, the College Student Personnel Administration program, if I want to be 100% honest, I feel as if this program was created to help with like admissions numbers on the diversity side of things. See a lot of African American students, students from all different cultures, backgrounds, come through this program successfully because the other programs that we have are impossible for us to get into. And so it's just kind of like, like the mental health, the nursing, higher masters of nursing program and stuff like that. You don't see a lot of us, but in this one specific program, you see a lot of us. So it's kind of like, almost feels like here, we're going to throw you this because not only will it help you in your personal life, so to speak, but it'll also help us in retention, bringing people back to the university and things of that nature. And so I strongly feel that way, even by the coursework that, we receive sometimes. It's almost feels, elementary, like, just like, this feels like something that I did in undergrad. This honestly feels like something that I've done in high school, so definitely not feeling that feeling of being taken, seriously and things of that nature. There's so many, but I would have to say those are the main two, not being able to feel as confident as I would outside of these walls, but also my program, really feeling like if it's, worth anything in the long run.
Got you. It's like I wanted to do this because I wanted y'all to speak on these things, but I'm just like, what can be done? What can like that's the thing. It's like we can talk about the problem all day long, but what are the solutions? That's the thing. And I know talking about it does help, but do y'all feel like if you give suggestions to your program administrators that's gonna do anything, or it's just gonna be like talking to a wall? I think I know the answer. this that's bad. So it goes into this next question. What resources, mentors, or communities have helped you navigate these spaces? Whoever.
I could go.
Okay.
I feel like I am not a success story at this moment, so I'm not sure I can be like, here's what's helped, and I'm like perfectly happy and okay. But I do think there are some things that make like life doable, at least, I'm still in contact with my undergrad mentor, and I think having built those connections, at least while in undergrad, are saving me now because I talked to a lot of the people I met in undergrad who made me feel safe there, still to this day through FaceTime. And then my family is my probably biggest thing that helps me, just being able to call my family. So those are the biggest things. Like actually in North Carolina resources, I don't have that many. So Yeah, that's probably not the best answer, but that's my
That's your answer. That's your truth.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. Allie, how did you find your mentors? Because I know you said you had one in undergrad and you have one in graduate school. How did you find them?
In undergrad, I cold emailed her because I really, really wanted to do research. I was like, hi, I've never taken a class with you, but I love the work you do. And I was wondering if we could meet. And then we met and I worked with her. That was like my freshman year. And then I was her research assistant my entire time in undergrad.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't know if you all had a program at your school specifically dedicated for mentorship, but that's super, super smart. I'm glad you did that. That's great. That's
I
great.
would recommend it because people love to talk about their work. Y'all know.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
it's a great way to get in the door.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Who would like to go next? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that I agree with Ali. I think that kind of experience with your mentor. I also talked to my undergrad mentor, the one I talked to from a research lab that I joined. And I didn't think that it would extend beyond just that year in the lab, but it's like 10 years later, we still talk. She still checks in, has been very helpful for a lot of the challenges I went through with my PhD program. So I think having those long-term connections, even if it's outside of school, like looking at community organizations and things like that, is really important.
Thank you. Lex.
Is it safe to say that I have none?
Oh, wow.
While I have a great like support system, my fiance, my line sisters, I, I say support system because I would love to use the term village, but I just simply don't have one, and that's just the bottom line. My undergraduate mentor, she was a Black queer woman. And when I say this, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. She just prefers white queer spaces. I mean, hey, that's her preference and stuff. So once she moved forward and graduated, I really didn't hear from her anymore, which left me the rest of undergraduate to navigate by myself. Not only to mention that I go to an institution that both of my parents graduated from. So it's just like, I'm not what a lot of people expected from my parents, to say the least, So it's just like a lot of people, I'm not gonna say that they are afraid, because mind you, a lot of these people that see me on this campus were the same people that babysat me as a child, but a lot of them just simply don't want to because I'm a queer woman, And so it's just like, even in like the office that I work in, like my direct advisor, not advisor, but what is it called? Supervisor. She's a Black woman, but it's still in the same sense. It's just like, I don't even feel comfortable enough to go and ask her, hey, would you mind mentoring me? We're in the same program and everything, but I just don't feel that level of comfort, because it's just like, everybody wants to, be Black and exude this Blackness, but they don't understand that includes Black queer people too.
Exactly. That part.
So safe to say that I really don't have any. I got great support system, but any mentors that are literally like leading me and helping me through this thing, I have none.
Gotcha. And it's gonna be my job. I'm taking this on to find you all as much support as possible after this conversation, because that's not cool. It's not cool. Dealing with school in of itself is hard. Now you got to deal with all these other barriers, and that's to me that's uncalled for. And these universities, these institutions get billions of dollars on research, on support, and all this stuff. Why are we not supporting people in the communities that are paying tuition or working at the university? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna do whatever I can. This is part of it, but I am going to also start a mentorship and leadership program. So everybody, if you're not already in the Black Educated Lesbians Facebook group, please join it. My goal, as soon as this is off, is to make a post finding who went to Duke and graduated, who is a mass woman that would be okay mentoring someone. Like y'all, like we have to have community, especially now more than ever. We need to have community. And so to see people struggling, my people struggling, I don't take on to that too tough. So I'm gonna do what I can. All three of you have my phone number. But please make sure you reach out. But I'm gonna do my due diligence and make sure that I do something with this information, because we have to support each other, especially now more than ever. That goes into this next question. How do you balance academic pressure with self-care, if that's even possible? But how do you do it, if you do it?
I would definitely say here lately, and this is just me personally, I've gotten into fitness. I feel like a part of that is a little bit of inner child healing as well, because, you know, navigating, again, a predominantly white high school as well, Black queer women, and, you know, you would have to hide your queerness, so to speak. So while I was a hooper, I was a baller as a kid, I wasn't afforded the opportunity to, you know, show my talent to the world. So I found refuge in, you know, fitness lately. Let's see, my therapist is a Black educated woman. So, you know, when I do go and sit with her, like, you know, I kind of, you know, lean on her to kind of, you know, trauma dump sometimes. But other than that, I would really say for me personally, it's been fitness lately, but also something that has really, really, really helped me in the confinements of this space is actually building connections with other Black queer students on campus. That a part of that, you know, and I'm not saying this in a selfish way, but a part of that is healing to me, knowing that there's a face that they can associate and say, oh, that's Lex. I'm gonna go run to the financial aid hall, talk to her real quick. And I make sure I let them know, it ain't nothing, I don't care if it ain't about your Pell Grant. If you need to come talk to me, come see me. You know, that has, you know, done wonders for my mental. Like, I'm so excited for the kids to be returning, like, in a couple weeks, because like these last few weeks have been rough. Like, ain't seen my babies.
And that's the thing, like, you haven't had a mentor, but you're a mentor to all these kids, and it's just like, that's a great thing, and it's healing for you, and I'm glad you have that. I just wish that, you know, my goal is to find you a mentor as well.
Right.
So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Who's next? Go ahead.
Yeah, I relate to a lot of what you said. I also am really into fitness and like somatic exercise. I think just any work that is meant to heal the body through any trauma or stress is really important to try to get into, even if it's as simple as walking. Trying to think. I also enjoy reading for fun. I think that's hard when you're in grad school, law school, med school, whatever, to really dig into that. But I don't know, it just reminds me that there's just so much more to read and explore besides just like what I'm studying. So that also has been really helpful.
Thank you. Allie?
Yeah, I feel like being in America and growing up in this capitalist society where your work is supposed to be you, my biggest way that I am trying to take care of myself is constantly reprogramming myself to understand that my identity and being is not my program and what I'm doing there, and just genuinely trying to separate the work I do with who I am. I feel like my first 2 years got really wrapped up and sucked into working every day, all day until I went to sleep from the time I woke up, even on the weekends.
Mhm.
And for better or worse, now I will put the laptop down and close it, no matter what's left. I know that how that worked out for me after those 2 years and the burnout I was experiencing. I'm like, I can't finish the program if I keep doing this, you know? So I have learned to just let stuff be, because I think a lot of times also as a Black woman, I run into the issue of being like, I gotta get this done. I need to be ahead of stuff. Like I gotta, like just spiraling. And then I look over and see that all my classmates haven't even started, you know? So I'm really trying to get away from that kind of thinking. And one of the main things I do is craft. Like I love to crochet. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. This is our last question, but we're gonna have, I know Nicole has a question as well, but my next question, last question, is, what would you say to other Black queer students entering similar spaces such as yourself? Whoever wanna go.
I would say, if I had to just say anything, I would say remember what you're doing it for. Um, and if you don't know what you're doing it for, find what you're doing it for.
Mhm.
Because if you're just doing something just to do something, not that everything has to have a meaning, but when it comes to education and going higher in your education, that's not something that you just do as a hobby, at all. And so you have to find that purpose and you have to walk in that purpose, whatever it may be. Um, and if there's a space in which you feel too small, you're probably too big for the space. And not saying that you have to remove yourself necessarily, but you have to literally put your arms out and widen the space and literally show people, hey, I'm here, and if you're like me, come here too. So let's take this box and let's stretch this box out. We have to force our way into these spaces, like these colonizers and things force themselves into our spaces, essentially, and stuff like that. So that I would say that. And just of course, my go-to mantra is simple: to thine self be true. Be yourself. You don't have to change to be accepted, because there are spaces and people somewhere that will take you for who you are. It might take a little time to find. It might take you searching out and reaching out, kind of like I did to you, and things of that nature, but it's out there, so to speak. Don't conform, be who you are, find your purpose, and stretch out that box that you feel too small to be in.
Amen, amen. Thank you, thank you. Sierra?
I think just not being afraid to advocate for yourself and to stand up for what you believe in and holding your values close to yourself and not losing sight of that. I think sometimes we need a reminder when we get too stressed out or just too overwhelmed, like why we started doing it. So yeah, just not being unsure of those things.
Sierra, would you like to elaborate on what happened at school?
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically am trying to figure out next steps because I got dismissed from my program because they said I didn't do something by deadline, which I did. The deadline was June 13th and I did it by June 5th. But yeah, basically, if y'all know any education attorneys, let me know.
Thank you. Allie?
yeah, I think I agree with what Lex and Sierra have both said. Grad school for me has been the biggest test of my self-love and self-authenticity. I feel like the spaces are designed to make you want to shrink or feel like you need to. And the biggest thing I could say is if it's a test, then learn all the lessons because I'm learning now how to deprogram my brain and love myself even more because there's all these tests. And then I'm like, no, wait, I don't need to shrink. So I really agree with Lex and like just be yourself because like I used to be scared to just talk like myself even in class, you know? And so then just doing it one day and being like, oh, I'm still right. You said something else and then I said my answer and I was right. And I didn't say it how you said yours, but I'm still educated no matter how I speak, how I dress, what I do, you know? And like unprogramming those things from my mind has been actually very freeing. And so I feel like approaching it that way and letting myself learn these things has been a gift no matter what, even if it's very emotionally draining and taxing.
Yeah, yeah. Allie, can you tell us about your research project?
Yeah, I'm in the dissertating stage of my program, so I am working on studying Black queer women. But I'm also looking for queer women in general and Black straight women. My project, I want to compare the experiences of minority women who go to therapy, because I feel like all the research I read, there's great stuff for Black women, great stuff for Black people. There's a few things for Black or for queer people, but it's usually queer men. And so I'm like, I know that we are experiencing something important. And my goal, honestly, is just to get some research out there because this is a very important thing for me. And therapy, even finding a therapist has not been easy because I feel like I have to sacrifice something always to find a therapist. And I know I can't be the only one. And I bet all of our experiences are not just like great. So if anyone's interested, you can reach out to me, ali.cameron@duke.edu. So thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Nicole, I do see that you have a question. Would you like to get on and ask your question?
Hi, sure, I'll ask it verbally since I am running around a little bit doing some chores in the background. Hi. Yes. Thank you for having this. I just want to thank you, LaJoya, and thank all of the panelists for sharing their experiences. And yeah, here's my question. Um, for any of the Black queer femme women on the panel, I was just curious about an extra layer, I suppose, in which you may or may not have sought community. So I'm just curious if any of the feminine Black queer women on the panel are femme for femme. Sorry, I made a typo. How did you seek community with other femme for femme Black women and relationships with other Black femme women during graduate school?
I know, Allie, you identify as femme.
Yes, I'm femme. I'd say I'm femme for any. You know what I mean? Like I will date across the spectrum of gender presentation, whatever that looks like. And I think for me, like especially finding other queer people has been hard. Finding other femmes even harder because I feel like just looking at someone, you're like, are you, you know, and then like you just don't
Are
know.
you family?
Right. So it's definitely hard, and I don't really have any advice or experience in undergrad. I think going to queer spaces and seeing who's there was my biggest thing because in Black spaces it's even harder. At least if I'm in a queer space, I know you're here for a reason, you know? So
Mhm.
it's much harder going into a Black space and trying to suss out the vibe, you know? But yeah.
Got you. I appreciate it. Sierra, did you have anything else you wanted to say? Allie, did you have anything? Lex, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I did just have one thing I want to touch on.
Of course.
I will say, and I'm not, taking this to do like a whole political conversation. That's not what this is for. But I will say, as the landscape is beginning to change more and more, please know that our spaces are already tough to navigate, but they're about to get increasingly more difficult to navigate. In office, in the financial aid office, we are required to read national updates daily on the landscape of the Department of Education, everything that's going on, things that are expected to happen. And just even though, even with this reconciliation bill that was just passed, who's to say that more won't come from what's outlined on this paper? As we know, things are very unpredictable right now. Even with our university, we have a term, AVID, accessibility, vitality, inclusivity, and diversity. It's supposed to be our mantra, but even the spaces, we're beginning to have to look at eliminating certain things, cutting things just in preparation. I say all that to say that even though this journey is about to become increasingly difficult, more difficult than it already is, that doesn't mean that we need to, back away, shy away. That's what they want us to do. They don't want us to be educated. They don't want us to be voices. They don't want us to, they don't even want us to exist if we're just going to be so for real and stuff like that. But in the same sense, we have to stand our ground. We have to keep pushing boundaries as they push our boundaries. I tell myself sometimes, I think in my former life, I probably would have been a Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? And so it's definitely given that we're going to have to, do some Black Panther type, going for it, And so that's just all I want to say. I personally can be reached for anything at amjbus4@gmail.com. This will not be the last time you see my face. But also, I, 100% am committed to working alongside Ms. LaJoya with BEL, just to make sure that we stay. You know what I'm saying? Not, solely we as in the organization, but we as Black, educated, queer women, that we stay.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Allie, Sierra.
Yeah, I just want to echo everything Lex is saying. I feel like, yes, the times are going to get harder. And as a mental health person, I will say that another way that we can stand up is to make sure that we find places to find joy. Because it's great to be in the fight, and we all need to be. And that could just be you doing the work you're doing, But also, you have to figure out what makes you happy, because this world is going to try to take that from you at every moment it can, and we deserve it. So.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Sierra.
I didn't have anything else to add. Thank you so much for organizing this. I think these conversations aren't really, they can be hard to find. So I just appreciate the opportunity to speak on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions or comments or concerns? Anything?
Good afternoon. So I'm Dakia
Hi.
Washington.
Hey.
Hello. I just hopped on today to Eventbrite and saw the event, and I was like, now this is right on time. So thank you all. Thank you, LaJoya, definitely for planning an event like this, and thank you to the panelists as well for being open about your experiences and things like that. I'm probably about 2 weeks from defending. Well, I'm defending my PhD Tuesday, and about 2 weeks from receiving my PhD. So Lex mentioned a lot of important things, Sierra, Allie, as well. And I think, as you stated, Lex, it's so important that we are transparent in who we are, because in reference to Nicole, I'm a bit versatile, so I look feminine sometimes, and sometimes my energy is a little more masked, but I do understand when your exterior looks feminine and you're like, but the thing about it is when you're you and people are curious or they identify that way, they naturally gravitate to you anyway. So what I found is, in a quote that I wrote down as you guys were all talking, is, we have to be the change we want to see. There's a lot of communities and spaces that we're in that people don't look like us, but then they gravitate to us because they're interested either in who we are. So I think continuing to empower each other will give us the leadership anyways, because there's many spaces where I wasn't a leader, but I demanded that ownership at times. And then if I choose to digress, then I choose to digress. But Lex, even when you say, putting your head down, things like that, like we all been there, because the world sometimes makes us want to naturally put our heads down. But in every space, we do have to empower the youth and each other. No, hold your head up, hold your head up. And just having people in those spaces to remind us of that. Put your head up, because somebody's watching that and somebody's, you know, being empowered by that energy. So I think the biggest thing we can do is continue to have these spaces, and then again, create the change we want to see. And I know, and I'm an educator. I've been in education for about 16 years. I've been an administrator. I've been a special ed teacher. And I know at times the politics seem to control our careers, but we have to keep in mind too, it's temporary. The system of democracy was, you know, founded in being a temporary balance of power. So although it seems like somebody has so much power, in all reality, there's still a balance of powers there, and there's still only so long that one person can stay, you know, as a lead in the political stance. So and we still run it. So that's the thing. Ancestors have fought for where we are today, and we really, not to say we don't have to fight anymore, but like we really just now have a voice to like be heard. And what they fought for, now we can just be heard, we could just be present, we could just show up. So I think something as simple, if it's one person, two people, LaJoya, that's joining you, when we come together and it's more than one person, our voices speak volumes. So I really do feel when I step into these spaces, I've been on stages, when I was assistant principal, I was in a community that I'm almost sure never had a, you know, person of color as an administrator, definitely not a queer woman. But when I walked in those spaces, I presented as I present. We all know sometimes there's a look, sometimes you have to go into an interview and take it. And then you look how you want to look when it passes that. I hope we get to a place where we can walk in the interview and own it, no matter what our appearance is. But we also know sometimes there's a game to be played, but it's not playing ourselves. It's going in and owning it and knowing that whether my hair is like this, or like this, I'm here and I'm a leader and I am who I am. So, I mean, I've saw political changes. When you go into these spaces, ask them, you know, what's your policy on this? What's your policy on this? I want to be protected, and just knowing that we do have the skill set where they need us just as much as we need them. So I think encouraging us to all be educators, like continue to educate the youth, continue to educate our non-Black, non-queer folks, because they want to know. There's a lot of people more curious, and the people who are trying to put into these legislatives is fear. It's fear of the unknown. In my opinion, this is all opinion. So the more we can educate and be who we really are a powerful force. And I've saw it, and the mentorships is a great step. I do want to be a part of it. I'll put my email in here, and yeah, we just got to keep encouraging each other. I would love to see, I don't know if you guys have done it, but let's come together face to face, you know, do conferences, because there's a lot of women and queer people who are looking for these spaces. They just don't know where to go. And I'll say, LaJoya, the thing about me is I have to be very mindful of social media spaces. So there's a lot of people in leadership as well, or maybe in certain careers where they're nervous because of their identity to, you know, be in certain social media platforms and forums. So I think that's the importance of like an Eventbrite, because if people, you know, take a moment off of Facebook or things like that just to focus on a PhD, like they still get that connection and have that connection if they're choosing not to do social media for, you know, just self-care reasons. So yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you all. I want to be a part of the conversation any way I can help, and they will hear us.
Yeah, they ain't got no choice. They got no choice. We're not going nowhere. That's the thing. That's the thing. And I appreciate you for speaking. Thank you so much, and congratulations. It's not, you don't need to defend nothing. You already got it. You already got it.
Yeah, and it's a challenge. There's a lot of self-doubt that comes about at times, but those communities will keep you, you know, uplifted. And yeah, self-care. And even on the therapy side, I started therapy based on a PhD. I'm like, I need help with balance. So even that study, would love to be a part of that study. And the stigma about therapy now in the Black community, I feel like we need it now. It's
more than ever.
Yeah, it's like a preventative care more than it is reactive care. And I think the more we can push that too, that no, I'm not going because something's wrong. I'm going to prevent addiction. I'm going to prevent the breakdown, the meltdown. So all of that, like I said, I'm in special education, mental health as well. And we know it's in our families, it's in our communities, it's in our queer communities even more. So any of those conversations, please include me on those. And I'll share my research topic with you all as well. It's related to all of this as well. So happy to be a part of it.
What school are you at?
I'm at Capella online.
Got you.
Yes.
What program?
So it's special ed leadership.
Got you.
Yeah.
You got it.
Thank you very much. And yes, I have a Black mentor, but no, she's not queer, you know, so it is like, and then my
I'm
therapist is
gonna
not queer.
change that. We finna have Black queer mentors all over the place. Black queer
Yeah. And we got, that's beautiful because it's needed. It's really needed.
Yeah, because there's no, we are so big out here. And the thing is, we don't see each other and we don't think that we're here, but we all over this country, all over this world.
If you were to have a conference and we all come together, it would be mind blowing, and I want to be there for it.
And the funny thing is that you keep saying conferences. I got a conference September 18th to the 20th here in Metro Atlanta.
That's amazing. I'm writing it down.
At least 100 people will be attending. Deadline is the 30th because I need to make sure I got food for everybody.
Okay.
But it's BL has our this is our second annual conference. We are in Metro Atlanta for this last time. Next year we will be in Chicago because we're all over the place. So the conference should be all over the place. BL has been around for 10 years, going on 11, September 10th. But the conference is 3 days long. Where the first day is Thursday, where we'll have our welcome reception. We'll have a DJ, photo booth, live auction to help support the BEL Scholarship Fund, to help support people who can't get these grants or scholarships no more because they Black queer women.
Yeah.
So the next 2 days are going to be Friday and Saturday. We're going to talk about all the things. The conference is going to talk about reproductive justice, financial literacy. I'm having a professional masculine lesbian panel, a couples panel, a parenting panel. We're going to be talking about healthy relationships. I have a therapist talking about self-care. We have someone from the American Heart Association that's going to speak. We're going to talk about domestic violence and suicide prevention, 2 things that happen in our community that we do not discuss, all while having 15 vendors around the room to help support us. They're all Black queer women. This conference is exclusively for Black queer women. I mean that with every fiber of my being. We need a space where we can be safe. And so that's what the conference is. That's why the location is not shared to nobody unless you pay for a ticket or you're a facilitator or a vendor.
Absolutely.
So we'll have this conference every year. Every year is going to get bigger and better. Not too crazy, but that's the conference.
Well, if you can email me information about it, I will definitely try to make it.
I got you. Where are you located?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, cool.
So not too far from Atlanta.
No, not at all.
I can definitely skip on back.
That part. I appreciate it. Yes. Anybody else have any questions? All righty. Well, I appreciate you all for being here, each and every one of you. You will get an email from me with everyone's contact information. I will also post information on the conference. Thank you so much for being here. And y'all have a great Sunday. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Thank you all.